Hey, this is Rocket Brain Surgeon. Today we are looking at the Rheinmetall Borsig Waffentrager, affectionately known as the Roomba. We're following around K-Way as he just crushes everything in sight. The map is airfield, and he's trying to make it into the sniper position up in that E6-ish area. However, he's going to take a big hit here from an opposing Roomba, which is going to limit his options. It doesn't limit what he's going to do, but he'll just have a couple fewer options in the game. We'll get into more of how the tank plays in a moment. I do just want to point out that he is being very aggressive so far with his placement of this tank, and he kind of paid for it. I wonder if he could have been just a little bit more passive at the start and avoided taking that big hit early in the game. But once he gets to this position, this is a very good position for the tank to be because he has a lot of different angles on the enemy. He can poke into that grinder where he took the hit and just throw damage that way when people aren't looking. He can abuse the camouflage that these bushes give. There's a lot of good reason to be here, so maybe even taking that hit wasn't that bad because there's a lot of upside to this area. I really like the shot here that he's going to take on the T-34. He's going to penetrate the side of the turret. A lot of people would opt for the side of the tracks. However, I think that was a more risky shot than going for the side of the turret. The Roomba only has 5 degrees of gun depression and probably could have depressed enough to go into the side of the T-34. However, he would have to expose himself just a little bit more, and he would reduce the camouflage of the bushes to 0 when he fired, making the shot just slightly more risky. So it was an uncommon shot that not everyone would take, and I really like the placement of it. He has to be a little bit careful here because he is susceptible to a blind shot from the T-44 sitting on the ridge, and he does get hit. That was not a blind shot, but he can't spend a ton of time just sitting in those bushes. He hit the T-44 earlier with what was effectively a blind shot, and he doesn't want the same thing to happen, especially now that he is absolutely in one-shot territory. The game is going to take a little bit of a lull for the moment, so let's take a look at what makes the Roomba tick. The Roomba is a Tier 8 German tank destroyer, and it's characterized by 2 things. 1, a massive gun. 2, awesome camouflage. And that's about it. Everything else on the tank is sacrificed for these 2 things. But these 2 things are so darn good that it doesn't really matter. First up, the gun you should be using is the 128. Do not put the 150mm on the tank. It is a substantially worse gun. Yes, you are using the stock gun on the Roomba. And the reason why is because the accuracy, far better. Aim time, far better. Damage per minute, far better. I mean, there's really no reason to use the 150. The 150 does offer an alpha advantage, and alpha is great, but it just sacrifices far too much to get that extra 200 odd damage. And that's a nice benefit of the tank, that your stock gun is actually going to be the gun you use on it forever. The alpha on the 128 is 490, which is very good for a tank destroyer at Tier 8. The penetration is 246 on the base AP round with 311 on the APCR round. Both of them absolutely excellent, and you're going to be able to have enough penetration for whatever you face. So it's basically a Tier 10 gun, and what really pushes it over the top is a turret. A lot of tank destroyers lack that turret, and so they can't go to several places on the map. The Roomba just doesn't care. Also aiding in the Roomba's favor is its really small profile. The armor on the tank is absolutely non-existent. If you want, you can use HE against these tanks because it's most likely going to penetrate and deal full damage. But you actually have to hit this tiny little tank. The other thing is you have to actually see the Roomba, and that's really hard. The camouflage is some of the best in-game, even while firing. These tanks can just sit out in the middle of a field and be completely invisible. It is absolutely ridiculous, the level of camouflage on these tanks. Anything below Tier 8 or tanks lacking optics will have incredible difficulty spotting the Roomba. So all of this adds up to the Roomba probably being one of the best snipers in the game. It deals a ton of damage if it's left alone. It has sufficient alpha, so even if you don't get too many shots off, you're still going to highly impact the game. And all of the things in the tank are working together towards a common goal. It has that turret, so you can hide a lot of the tank. It has that awesome camouflage. And yeah, there's really very few tank destroyers that are as good as the Roomba at their job. Now, if you look at the game situation, you'll notice that the green team was up 10-4 at one point, and now the score is 12-11. This is one of those rare situations where the runaway victory kind of ran away. The good part is that Kway is in the perfect position. He is able to sit and use his 400-meter view range to try and spot the enemy as they try to collapse on the cap area. The bad news is that he is one-shottable. He's loaded HE because there's only Roombas left, and the armor thickness of a Roomba is like 20 millimeters. So when he hits, yeah, he's going to deal the full 650. That is awesome. Lots of good technique going on in this next segment. So Kway is protecting himself from the D2 area by putting that rock in between himself and there. He's also going to aim unseen at the enemy. The enemy's going to have a good response too. So Sixth Sense went off for that enemy Roomba that just died, and he shot blind. That was a great response. Now that enemy Roomba didn't hit, but it was better than just sitting there and dying for nothing. So Kway was protecting himself from the D2 area, and he pinged the map of F2 because he knows that the Roomba, that's the only place where the enemy Roomba could have come from. Anyway, Kway said that they actually won this game, though he has no idea how, and I'll let it play so you can wonder yourself how the heck they won this game. Anyway, Kway wrote up a review on the Roomba. Link in the comments, go check it out. Hope you enjoyed. Happy hunting.